Letters I never sent. The attic smelled of old wood, dust, and forgotten things. Julia sat cross-legged beneath the single dusty window, a box on her lap. The box had been sealed shut with yellowing tape, marked only with her mother's careful handwriting. To Julia, when the time is right. The tape came away with a sigh, like the past releasing its breath. Inside were letters, dozens of them, some in envelopes, some folded neatly. All addressed to people Julia had only heard about in family stories. All signed, Eleanor. She ran her fingers over the first one, the paper soft with age. "I didn't even know you wrote letters, Mom," she whispered, as though Eleanor might answer. Behind her, footsteps creaked. "You okay up here?" It was Mark, her brother, leaning in the doorway. Julia nodded. "I found something. Letters Mom wrote. To people she never sent them to." Mark frowned, stepping closer. "Why would she write letters she didn't send?" Julia held up the one on top. "This one's to our father, dated 1987. Mark blinked. "But they were still together then." "Exactly." A silence stretched between them. Mark cleared his throat. "You gonna read them?" "I think I have to." He nodded. "Want company?" "No." Julia gave a soft smile. "Thanks, though." He squeezed her shoulder and left her in the dim light. She opened the first letter, the one to their father. July 12th, 1987. Dear Tom, I don't know if I'll ever send this. Maybe I just need to write it down. I can't find the words when you're near. You always look so tired, so worn. I know you love the kids. I know you love me. But something's slipping. You don't talk to me anymore. Not really. I miss you. I miss who we were before the house and the noise and the endless days. Remember the lake? God, we used to laugh. Do you remember me like that? I don't want to leave. But sometimes I wonder if you'd even notice if I did. Eleanor Julia let the paper fall into her lap. Her chest felt tight. She'd been 6 in 1987. Her parents had stayed together until their father died in 2002. Julia had always believed they'd been solid, reliable. How many silent heartbreaks had her mother lived through? She reached for another letter. April 3rd, 1994. Dear Nora, I hated you. There, I said it. Not because you did anything wrong. You just had the life I thought I'd have. You were brave. You left. You moved to New York, lived in a tiny apartment, chased your dreams. I stayed. I stayed because it was safe. Because Tom was kind, and the world felt big and scary. But I missed you. I missed having someone who knew me before I became Mom. I saw your name in the paper last week, a gallery show. I'm proud of you, Nora. I wish I'd told you that when it still mattered. Julia's breath caught. Aunt Nora. She remembered her vaguely, with her wild hair and loud laugh. She'd vanished from family gatherings long ago. Had they really never spoken again? A sudden ache bloomed in Julia's throat. These weren't just letters. They were pieces of a woman she never truly knew. Who were you, Mom? She whispered. And what else did you keep quiet? She reached for another. The next letter was different, written on the back of a grocery receipt. The ink was faint, like it had been pressed in a rush. November 9th, 1999. Dear me, you did the laundry. You made the dentist appointments. You remembered everyone's birthday. You kept things together. But today, you cried in the car, and no one knew. You smiled at the checkout lady like everything was fine. You want to scream. You want someone to ask if you're okay and really mean it. But no one does. So I'm writing to you, even if it's just to say I see you. You're still in there. You haven't disappeared. Not yet. Julia held the letter longer than the others. It felt like a secret message, meant to be burned. The words echoed, quiet, desperate. She hadn't expected to feel such grief for a woman she'd known every day of her life, and yet maybe she hadn't known her at all. She reached for another. This one was in a child's envelope, purple, sparkly. She smiled, despite herself. March 16th, 2004. Dear Julia, I almost told you today. When you came home crying about your friend Emily not inviting you to her party, you were 10 and your world was collapsing. I wanted to say, people will hurt you without meaning to. I wanted to say, you're allowed to feel it. Instead, I told you it wasn't a big deal. I was wrong. It was a big deal. And I'm sorry. You didn't need fixing. You needed someone to sit in the sadness with you. I wish I had. Love, Mom. Julia's hand trembled. She remembered that day, the aching, hollow rejection. She'd never told anyone, but it had stayed with her longer than she admitted. And her mother had seen it. Why hadn't she said something then? Downstairs, the sound of dishes clinking. Mark was probably cleaning up after dinner. Julia leaned back, letter pressed to her chest. You did your best, didn't you? She opened one more. August 5th, 2006. Dear Mark, you never wanted to talk. Even when you were little, you were quiet. But I saw how your hands shook before school, how you always found a reason to stay up late the night before. I should have asked you what scared you. But I told myself, he's a boy, he's strong, he'll grow out of it. You didn't. I saw the way your eyes changed after Dad died, but I didn't know how to help. I thought loving you was enough. I hope it was. Mom Julia wiped her cheek. She hadn't realized she was crying. Downstairs, the floor creaked again. She tucked the letters back into the box carefully, then picked it up and walked down the attic steps. Mark was at the sink. She set the box on the table. Mom wrote to us. He turned, drying his hands. What? She wrote letters, never sent them, but they're for us. He stared at the box. Why now? Julia shrugged gently. Maybe the right time finally came. Mark sat slowly, eyes fixed on the box as if it might vanish if he looked away. She wrote to me? He asked, his voice thin, uncertain. Julia nodded. She saw more than we thought. Mark hesitated, then lifted the letter with his name on it. He read silently, his mouth tightening as he went. When he finally set it down, he didn't look at her. I thought I was invisible, he said. You weren't, Julia whispered. She just didn't know how to say things. She never talked about Dad after he died. Not really. She wrote about him, Julia said, and passed him another. October 2nd, 2003. Dear Tom, I still pour your coffee some mornings. I forget you're gone until I hear only silence. The kids are so quiet without you. Julia reads more. Mark disappears into his room. I try to hold everything together, but you were the glue. You'd hate the way the house feels now, like waiting. I wish you'd written me letters. Eleanor Mark folded the letter slowly, like it was something holy. She blamed herself, he murmured. No, Julia said softly. She missed him. That's not the same. Mark looked at her then, really looked. Do you think she wanted us to find these? I think she needed someone to hear them, even if it was too late. Silence fell between them again, not heavy, just full. Julia reached back into the box and pulled out a letter addressed to no one. No name. Just the word, if. She unfolded it carefully. May 18th, 2011. If I go before I've said everything, tell the kids I love them completely. Not perfectly, but completely. Tell Julia she was always stronger than she believed, even when she doubted everything. Tell Mark that being quiet isn't weakness. Some people speak with their presence, not their words. He is one of those people. Tell them I was trying, always trying, even when I got it wrong. And if they find these letters, let them read, let them forgive. Let them know me. Julia passed it to Mark without a word. He read it, jaw tight, blinking hard. Why didn't she just say all this? He asked. Maybe she didn't know how, Julia said. Maybe she thought silence was safer. He let out a shaky breath. And now? Now we know. They sat for a long time, the box between them, a quiet, sacred offering. Finally, Julia rose and took one of the blank note cards from inside. There were dozens, unused. She picked up a pen. What are you doing? Mark asked. She smiled faintly. Writing a letter. To who? To her. Mark watched as she began to write. June 15th, 2025. Dear Mom, I never got to say thank you for all the things you held, for the quiet ways you loved, for seeing us even when you couldn't say it. You were more than I knew, and now that I do, I love you even more. Julia. She set the letter gently in the box and looked at her brother. You want to write one? Mark nodded slowly. They sat together in silence, writing to the past, not to change it, but to honor it, to let it rest, to finally let go.